All right, I show that it's 6 o'clock, so let's call this meeting to order and we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, welcome everybody. And Leanne or Steve or who wants to take off first on?
Well, this is the most people we've had in this building for a while, I think, so that's good to see everybody here. And I think really the primary purpose for today is we want to, kind of gauge the involvement with people that were at the meeting and boisterous, and try to take all that energy that we had and turn it into something good and come up so when the next time that this situation comes up, and it will come up in a year, that we're better suited and everybody's kind of on, more on the same page than we were, a month ago or whenever it was. So that's kind of the purpose of what we've got, going for tonight.
We had a lot of folks step up at the meetings that had experience in different areas as far as insurance, experience in the past with in civics as far as the formation of a fire territory or the formation or support of a volunteer fire department that had moved in. We had other folks that were experienced in business operations and budgeting. And so it would be great not only have folks that volunteer to fight the fires and volunteer to do the emergency medical services, but we sure could use some help with them managing the scope of operations of the fire department and finding ways to move this forward to where if we have to form a fire territory, that we form the fire territory with a budget, a scope of work that we're going to do, and long-range plans on that. And so that was our thoughts after the last meeting. How can we as a community form something and help them currently out as far as recruiting, and then down the road on what looks next for them. So
our timetable is that we have until January to get something figured out. We don't want to wait until the last minute. So if we have a monthly meeting, then even starting right now, we've only got like maybe 5 meetings if we do it monthly. So we don't want to wait until the last minute and be overwhelmed again with not having all of our ducks in a row, what we need to do. So
so the timeline, if we could get your help on that, on what the timeline would be. And Doug, your help, since you guys went through that last year, what is our date where we have to start seriously having some things in place then to have the January 1st discussions to March 31st? What that kind of timeline would look like. Is it 2 months out before then, 3 months out?
So I'm happy to speak to that, Doug, if you want. So we generally say you should have your financials and you should have your, what I call the agreements. Because remember, if it's a territory, it's by agreement with another entity. So you should have your 2 entities that you want to get together with, okay? And you should have that agreement already in draft form. And, being the CPA, I don't do agreements. The attorney would do the agreement. And so you would map those out in October or November and December. And all your financials would be done, projections would be done, shared with people, and then you would start your January, February, March meetings. You don't even have to have them necessarily a month apart, but you have to have them, split up. And if you recall, at the end of the game, the DLGF said, really, we want you to have 4 meetings. We want you to have 3 presentation meetings and 1 basically, agreeing on the agreement. So, final meeting. So, let's say November and December, you need everything ironed out. And again, that's not by statute, that's just so that you can get things done by statute in January, February, March.
So like historical, what you've done through finance historically, it's, everything's in place by December 1, and then you get the meeting set for the beginning of the year.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I think my question would be to all of you that are out there, are you willing to sit on a committee or whatever we deem that we have, and come to such meetings one time a month from, June until, December?
I got a question. Missed the first article. We're supposed to sign in to ask questions.
No,
Not at this
not this one.
Okay. Well, I still have a second, I still actually have a question pertaining to what you guys just talked about, if it's all right with everybody. First question that I have, this is just a broad spectrum question. I like the idea of the meetings, but isn't the township more so in charge of the fire department than the town? Because the town is such a small entity compared to the whole township, and we're having a new township trustee at the first of the year. So how are you guys all gonna work this out come January 1 with a new trustee?
I see where you're asking that question from. As historically in Indiana, the township trustee is responsible for providing fire and EMS services. Currently, in Liberty Township, neither the town nor the township trustee are providing fire service. They are contracting with a 501c3. So right now, we don't have what you're talking about, of a trustee-run fire department and or a town-run fire department. So in the state statute, the forming a fire territory would have needed to be an agreement between the town and the township board, or the town council and the township board, to form that. So it has to have two government entities to create that. If there were a township fire department, then creating a fire territory would dissolve the township fire department and create the fire territory. With what we were trying to do last year, creating the fire territory would have, basically we kind of got a gentleman's agreement, so to speak, with the board of the 501c3, Liberty Township Fire Department. They would dissolve that in favor of the fire territory. So that's
But
how
you
that
still-
was set up.
I guess my thoughts to that, or the questions and the committees and everything, right? You got, the town puts the effort into all of this, right? And people in this room put this effort into this. The town itself doesn't have the tax basis or the money to fund its own fire department. We know come January 1, we're going to have a new township trustee. So if that township trustee says, hey, this is the direction I want to go with the township fire service, then I guess, has anybody thought about that? If that's the case, have you guys thought about that? So if we put all this together, and the township trustee wants to go completely this way, and everybody else wants to go completely this way, we're at a crossroads.
Sure.
This is open to anybody, not just the town, which I've posted it on other sites that are directed at the township, not just the town. And so, I don't know if everybody here is from the town or township or both or what. But I feel like if we have a group, whoever it is, that puts their thoughts together and goes to the whoever the trustee is, that we're gonna have a more power of what the people want than than saying, you know, Brad or Karen, you know, you do whatever you want, we'll fall in line with you. Obviously, that didn't work. So, you know, maybe Karen's elected or Brad's elected, they don't like what we're going, what path we're going, but that's to their detriment, not ours. At least we're prepared this time for, you know, the direction that the people wanna go, and they work for us. We don't work for them, so.
Well, I understand that, but,
And both of them have been invited to be part of this, and one of them was on duty tonight, couldn't be here, the other one, I didn't hear anything back, so.
She's supposed to be here.
Who's the Karen you speak of?
Karen is, running on the other side from this, she's the Democrat candidate
Oh, okay.
for trustee, and Brad Butler is
Yeah.
the Republican, and he's on duty tonight, so.
And this group, Nick, isn't about forming whatever we
understand
wanna
it's
do. It's
ideas.
about getting community input. So what we did last time, and, you know, part of that is my fault, is, you know, the elected officials said, here's what we wanna do. And then the folks who, you know, live in the township and the town said, well, we'd like to explore other options. So this is that opportunity for the elected officials to hear back from those of you who own the property in this town and the township to tell us, here's what you guys want. And, I mean, that's the best we
Yeah, it
can
was
do
just-
right now.
it was just a question because I
Sure.
knew we were having new leadership come in and to have a little,
Sure, and, you know, to answer the other
Foresight
part of
to
that, the township right now does not have the tax base to create a fire territory or a fire department either. I mean, to
I understand, but they have
step
more.
forward with a funding source for something so big, I mean, it's gonna take more than just a person in that office saying, I wanna do this. It's gonna take some things put in place to help that. Go ahead.
The way I'm understanding this meeting tonight is to actually help to form a citizens group to put in place something to make a fire territory or to do something to help the fire department get where we need to be.
Oh, I completely understand.
So I mean, as of right now, the way I would look at it is we need to, as I said, make a community-based group to where we decide what we want to do as a community. And then we would put it forward to the Clayton Town Council and the trustees department at that point. Right now, we need to do this, not them. They already know we stood up and we said our piece. Now we need to stand back up and make this happen as a community and come together and not bash either one of the committees, but come together and make it happen to where we present to them, this is what we want. Do you guys wanna go along with this or not? And at that point, then it can go 100 different directions, but I'm looking at, that's what we need to do now. And if I'm wrong, please say so, because that's why I'm here, is to be part of this committee to make our future for our township better for our kids coming up.
I agree, they shouldn't have to deal with this 20 years down the road.
Exactly. This is something we should have dealt with 20 years ago.
My
and we're
question,
just now doing it.
or my concern to that wasn't, I understand what we're here to discuss options and things.
Right.
I also understand that without money, things don't get funded.
Right.
But my point to that was if we go January 1 with a meeting, like you guys were just talking about, I was alluding to that. January 1, we have the first meeting because this is the idea that was presented, the town agreed upon it, and that's what you guys are presenting to the community in the legal meetings, I guess would be the term to use, on January 1. Well, also on January 1, you have new leadership in the township who represents a whole lot larger base, technically, than what the town board does. So how can you have a legal meeting on January 1 if something wasn't, because you don't know, I mean, I guess you give the guy a month because he knows he was elected in November to get up to speed, but you're running a tight window, I guess, is my question.
Nobody would go forward with township public hearings without both parties that are going to have to be in the agreement already at the table. I mean, we wouldn't do that, but you hit the nail right on the head, is that's what we want. We want community input to help us with direction. Where do we wanna go with this? And, you know, I feel like, hopefully, that everybody understands that this is, you know, there's a big deficit in our township and our town related to fire and EMS protection, and that we want to figure out some way to solve that.
I think the community would agree with that. We do need to do something, and we do need to get something in place. The question is how do we do that? And I think that's what the committee should actually, you know, the public committee should actually put something together, and the public do the research. You guys have already done that, and we didn't like that. So I think we should do that, and then present it to you guys. You know, and
Well, our hope is that next meeting, it won't be us talking, we'll have someone within the community appointed to kind of run a meeting, or you'll have someone that, and please by all means tell anyone else that you might feel like want to participate that has knowledge in any of the things that I mentioned earlier, that we form committees about certain things, you know, and what those folks are specialized in, and have them do some homework and some research, and then at the next meeting, meet and discuss what maybe that subgroup found out, and go from there. And as we work towards October, November, then we have a lot of ideas, and like at the next meeting, maybe it won't be us running the meeting, you know, it should be whoever the community kind of digs into and appoints to kind of like run the show. And then when we get close to the October, November timelines, then the town council gets involved with the trustee's office, and we start trying to work through everything that took place at October last year. As mentioned, we go through everything October, November, December, and then January, not necessarily January 1st, but sometime in January, we have everyone, a cohesive group that's informed, and we start having these public hearings. So therefore, when we have the public hearings, cohesive group can help with the public on informing them of exactly what we looked at, where we're going, and what we have to do.
Okay, so I guess one of my questions is how are you gonna know, so you're talking getting a plan together by October, November, but we're gonna have a new trustee in January. So what if he comes in or she comes in January and says, oh no, this is not the way it's gonna work, I'm not signing off on this. I feel like you're kind of almost trying to backdoor that person because you want it all done so that when they come in, they have to sign this paper.
Well, it would
Or
be
this
my hope
agreement.
that they would be here. I mean, that Karen and
We're gonna-
Brad
We're gonna communicate with them
and,
as much as
and
possible.
other trustee people would be here and be part of this, so that there wouldn't be come January, they don't know what's going on. They have every opportunity, just like you, to be here to.
Right, but they're not gonna have
Give your opinions.
a lot of leg to stand on, as in, no, this is how it needs to work, or until they're in office.
They'll have all the information.
They'll
you
have,
need.
they'll
I
have just the
understand
same,
they'll have the
they live here in
information,
a
but you
township,
don't
they'll have
have-
the same voice.
But they won't have, they can't say, no, we're not gonna do that because my office, because it's not technically gonna be their office yet.
Sure, and, I mean, I guess in my grand scheme of things, in my mind, you're the voters. So you're the voters that have voted them into office, and then you're offering them, here's what we'd like to see happen. So for them to just say, no, I'm not doing that, seems
Right, which I
counterintuitive to
understand
an
that, but
elected
that's
official.
where I'm saying on the agreement,
Right,
if there's an argument over something, one side wants to start with, you know, just having a few EMTs, one side wants to start with a full fire department. If we can't come to an agreement, they have no leg to stand on,
yeah, and it.
because they're
that-
not in office.
And that might mean this gets pushed further back. I mean, unfortunately, a lot of this, is more of a marathon than a sprint.
And yeah,
It's been a problem for a lot of years.
Yes, and I
And
totally agree.
I wish I had a magic wand to just say,
Yeah.
poof, we've got it fixed, but,
Yeah, and I totally agree. I
Yeah.
work in Whitestown, so I worked in the biggest growing town in the state for
Sure.
a decade. So I totally understand. I don't, that was my my concern, because I know you have deadlines, I know things have to get done at certain times, but if that person's not coming into office, I know they don't have, even if they've been elected on November, they don't have a leg to stand on until January. So that was just my biggest question, so.
Yeah, and, you know, we're not looking to strong arm anybody, it's just a matter of, let's at least
Right, get a plan at
have
this
the
point.
community putting together some ideas on here's what the community wants to do in response to what we've already brought up. We brought up some, you know, proposal, and the community said, okay, we'll back off, and so we backed off, and now let's take this one step at a time. And like he was saying, the community puts together some ideas, does some research, brings some plans together, a proposal from the voters, and presents it to everybody involved. And then we go from there. If there's some negotiations that have to happen with that, then that's the nature of working with two different government entities.
The third component to this, besides research and planning, is gonna be public relations, and to make sure that we oversaturate information to the township residents as much as possible, so everyone knows what's going on. So those folks that have an opposition against anything we might be doing can speak up and say something, to us, or get information to us, and then the committee can go and say, well, we've got a few folks that are concerned about this, how do we address their concern, and how do we talk to them about whether or not that concern is actual concern or not, or something we take seriously and intend to, so.
And Dave, on the timeline, I did respond to you in general. We set them up in January, February, and March. I think technically, I'd have to check with the lawyer, you basically have to have either 10 or 14 day separation. You could technically do them in February, March, all of them, and wait for a little bit. There's some schematic design that can be put together if there's, you know, you need it.
Okay.
So I don't want, you know, we wouldn't necessarily do something January 1. It could be even February that we have the first of the public.
And then get the meetings lined out with 14 days apart, and they like hit everything until March 31st.
Exactly. And I went with the atypical.
Right.
And atypical is probably the 20th of January before anything ever starts.
Now, is there gonna be anybody that will advise the committee that you guys create, or that is created, the group, is there going to be an actual legal, a person that really knows taxes, that understands the legality of taxes, understands the legality of the laws that are written, so that way the group doesn't spend a month going down a rabbit hole that isn't technically anything that can be done. You know, like it's a good idea, but it doesn't legally work, I guess.
My idea is-
Have that available.
I think that's what we're tasked
Yeah, I
with. We need to
think,
put the committee together ourselves.
Nick's volunteering, it sounds like.
Well, I'm just asking.
I mean, yeah, there are gonna be ideas you come up with that don't legally fit. I mean, the DLGF has very specific rules lined out about, you know, what can be done with that. The State Board of Accounts has very specific and complicated rules about, I mean, we deal with that every day here in town of, okay, well, the State Board of Accounts doesn't let us do that. So, you know, you're gonna run into those things, and, you know, that's part of our job to help, you know, point that out. You guys come
That
up
was
with
my
an
question,
idea and we
because
go, oh,
the general public, I don't mean to put this the wrong way, but you got stacks of books this tall of written laws, and especially on tax codes and things like that. The general public, we don't have the knowledge of that because we don't deal with it. We pay our accountants to do that. So it may take a really long time for just me, Joe Schmo, to go digging through all that. So that's why I was asking if there will be some sort of, like this gentleman here that laid out the plan. I'm assuming he does budgeting, because that's what he presented in that meeting. Will there be some sort of guidance to the group that we can lean to, like the town lawyer or the town tax attorney, whoever, that would actually know for sure, yes, this is what we can do. We can move in that direction if that's a good idea or not. If we're, you know, if the group is collectively having problems understanding if we can or can't do it.
Absolutely, yeah, we're not gonna let you, you know, go down a direction that's not feasible. I mean, that's, you know, something that is part of our job to help you along with that. You know, there's, changes every year also. I mean, the state legislature passes laws all the time that changes previous laws and stuff, so, yeah, we're gonna help with that expert content part of it.
And Leanne pointed out it'd be one a month. I would be on board with having a meeting there every other week, or, you know, whatever it takes to meet and then work out, get information, and then go back and research more information and meet again. So I'm open to meeting more than once a month if that's what it takes. So
My vision would be to have different subcommittees, finance. There was people that talked about, you know, subcontracting ambulance service out. Somebody that knows of these different areas that we're not specialists in any of this, you know. But there are people that do know a lot about that. There's people on the fire department that, you know, wanna be involved, that obviously would be pretty valuable. And have subcommittees with people that, you know, work in those committees, and then, you know, the leader of that subcommittee comes back to, you know, to everybody, I think is kind of what we alluded to a few minutes ago. But yeah, I think somebody that knows something about finance, maybe not necessarily the DGLF or whatever, but, you know, finance in general, taxes, that sort of thing.
Well, you gotta kinda know where you're gonna get your money from. That's why one question was that.
Right.
I mean, you can't, I picked up in the meeting, from the last meeting that, I think the general misunderstanding to the tax basis was that it was a maximum cap that they could take up to 45 cents or 49 cents per whatever dollar amount added to your taxes. Those kinds of things are the kinds of things that this group would have to know what they can and can't do. Because you can't just say we're gonna go hire an EMT service to cover it. Where are we gonna get the money from, and how are we gonna get it? You know, we have to be guided in that, or we have to be given some information or access to someone like him that could explain, these are the 5 different ways, or these are the 10 different ways you can get it from.
Sure, and we have those people available for you, so we're not expecting this to be done in a void.
Right.
We have experts who can help with each of those steps, whether it's understanding the tax law, or how many FTEs does a typical fire department need, and what are FDA standards, and, you know, those kinds of things, so, all right.
I have a question. Are we, as a community, are we looking to just do the homework, look at, you know, go out, find avenues of, we could do this, we could do that, and then bring that to present it? Or are we looking at actually putting a proposal together to be voted on? Like, what's our goal? I mean, are we, cause I'll be honest, there's a small group in Liberty Township that's been doing some homework since this all started. And we've been getting together, and it's like, we're talking to different people, just getting some information, avenues that we can look at, pursue.
It's your committee, what do you think it looks like?
Well, I don't know, cause I just know, like, in Liberty Township, when they did all of this, I mean, they paid $50,000 to an attorney. They, you know, I mean, obviously, like he said, they had people in there that knew and could put that proposal together, but it's gonna cost money. But are we looking as a group to just do the homework, do the legwork, to where we can come together and say, okay, we have this option, we have this option?
That was my whole idea with this, was exactly what you just said.
So not truly coming, like,
Not making
we're
any
gonna come-
decisions, just coming up with ideas for
Okay.
people who do make the decision.
Okay.
And maybe
That's what I said.
That's what I,
Yeah, and maybe the
but I
fire
thought
chief-
maybe he was, cause then I was getting confused, like, are we throwing a proposal together? Cause again, none of us know any of all
Well,
those
my
numbers.
thing is, how do I them put this. I'm a problem solver, I'm a mechanic, I own a business. Doesn't make me any smarter than anybody else in this room, but I fix problems every day. I also have to budget money, I have to pay employees and do all that stuff. I understand that without customers, okay, that's my income, like taxes, I can't pay my bills, I can't pay my employees. But I also know the avenues that I can go down with my business because of the type of business I do. I fix cars, I tow cars, I don't make donuts, type thing. So what I mean by that is, there's a whole bunch of ideas out there that we can all come up with collectively, but what can we actually do? We need to know what we can actually, what are the realistic actual things that we can do legally come up with?
Well, I think that's where we as a community, we come up with these ideas on our committee. We come up with these ideas, we put some stuff on paper, and then we look and say, hey, look, Mr. Lawyer, Mr. Tax Guy, this is what we're thinking. Are we in the right spot? Can we do these things? Or are we on the wrong track and we need to step back and go a different route? And that's what we need to do before we can even ask those questions of where we're gonna get the money or anything. We need to make a plan to,
We need to know what's available
Right.
out there.
That's
Right.
exactly how I see it. We brainstorm, say, we're the committee, everybody
Right.
here's here. We brainstorm all the ideas. No idea is a dumb idea at this point.
Right.
Then we leverage the township resources.
Right.
Whether it be if they've got tax specialists or if they've got legal specialists. We leverage their resources, say, here's our ideas. Here's what we come up with. Tell us what we can and cannot do. We'll take what we can do. We will polish those, we will look at those, come up with, you know, an amicable resolution between all, this committee, say, this is the path we wanna go down, primary path one, secondary path two.
right.
Here you go, town council, township board, this is what we're thinking. Then they can make a formal proposal off of that. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, and I like, I'm with that, you know, I think that's where we're all trying to get to that point.
So I can kind of, we've actually been having meetings at our house. I mean, it's been small groups and we've had some really good conversations on state level and county level with representatives from the county and state both. What I can allude to what you're trying to get at, we're looking at, okay, let's don't try to go for the 2.2 million. I was on the fire department for Hazelwood for 17 years. Kind of involved in that merge right at the transition between Liberty Township. But what I know and what's still a fact is that we have more EMS runs than we do fire. So we were kind of thinking, well, maybe not so high tax based on fire and EMS. Let's try to make it work on maybe half of that amount, which is less taxes. This is not even, I mean, we're just trying to figure things out. And that way we can still have an EMS but still use volunteers for the firefighting purposes of it.
There's nothing wrong with that.
So we're looking at all kinds of different ways, I mean, and if not to be,
And happy to share.
yeah, I mean, we've
what
got
we-
tons of information. And
Just
so-
ideas and things.
But you have to come to all the meetings, like what, you know, with Brad, when at his meeting, he made some very good points, valid points. What his plans are for the township trustee, and he's spot on. And I haven't heard Karen, but, we have to be involved,
There are options.
yeah.
There's so many options out there, it's like, it makes your head spin when you think about all of them. And that's why the whole community themselves getting involved with this and us bouncing those ideas off of each other before we even talk to them or talk to the trustees. We as a community need to make this right and then present to them. Because what they wanted to do with the 49.9 pennies just blew everybody away automatically. So we need to come up with a different way and a different strategy and basically do everything they've done, but as the community, not as the trustees and the board. Does that make sense?
I get all that. I have no problem with that. I have no problem talking ideas or anything. I guess my thing is you gotta know the different options that are out there that you can legally do, why discuss things and waste
Here's
time on
the
things
thing,
that you can't do.
here's the thing.
And that's why you
Try not to even focus on the legal aspect of it. All we have to do is bring ideas, and other people are gonna take care of the legality part of it. I mean, we're gonna either gonna shut down, or if we don't start somewhere and do something,
Yeah.
then whose fault is it?
You can't go straight to the legal side of it until you have the first stone to get there. So if you're thinking about legal all the time, you're never gonna get past the legal spot.
I disagree with you on that a little bit.
What would the mechanics of this committee look like as far as you guys have already started a little one on your own? You know, there's other people that are kind of talking the same way that I personally was thinking, and probably along the lines of what they were thinking as well. What would it look like for a next step? What would it, you know, we could sit here every month and, you know, throw out our ideas, but we need some way to capture those. What would your ideas be to get everybody on the same page and get them, you know, get things going consistently, I guess? Do you see it as a once a month thing? Do you see it as twice a month? Do we have, how many separate committees do we have? You know, when do those meet? What, you know, those sort of things. What's it look like is what I'm trying to get to before we discuss too many ideas.
Right. Again, I don't wanna take the spotlight, but,
Why not?
well, I can.
You can.
Yeah.
Did-
We all started by taking the spotlight, so once you
Yeah,
do, you're
right.
Why not?
Well,
Throw your hat in the ring.
I would like to see, you know, a small group of citizens get together, and within that small group, we can start throwing out ideas, and then at that point, then we can separate it. Okay, we need to ask these legal questions to our lawyer, and we need to ask these legal questions to our accountant at that point. But like I said, if you don't have a starting point, it doesn't matter what the accountant says or what the lawyer says, because there's nothing to even ask them if we can do. So, I mean, I just look at, we need to get volunteers to get together once a month to talk about this, and then a second meeting a month to address you guys and the lawyers and the tax specialists at that point. But if we don't have ideas to even ask them questions, we're just kind of sitting here doing nothing. And that's what we've been doing for the last 20-some years, and that's not working.
So I think to go back to Leanne's question 25 minutes ago, who in here is willing to be on the committee? I'm willing to be on the
Right,
committee.
I would hope everybody here would be willing to be on it.
We originally had thought, and this was last month at our town board meeting, that we would ask you to form a committee that would have one town board member, one trustee member, and a firefighter, and 4 community people. But now, listening to what you're saying, and that's, would be up to, I'm just throwing this out there. I think it would be better for it just to be you guys form a 7-person committee. And I'm just throwing this out there, and we would not be involved actually at all until you present it to us.
I was gonna say, what about starting where we all sit down, go through ideas? Because, you know, some may not even know the first thing about how a department's run. So you don't even know what kind of personnel you need, or, you know, any of that. Why not get some of those ideas together, have a couple meetings, get people familiar with it, and then start setting up, okay, well, we need this group that can do the finance and look at what, you know, what uniforms cost, what equipment costs, what vehicles cost. Then this group can look at personnel. How are we gonna hire people? How are we gonna start with, you know, are we just gonna give people positions, or do they have to go through a hiring process? You know, so maybe that's a way we can, just so everybody can kind of get to know how things run anyway, and then kind of maybe separate into specialty groups if need be.
So I think Jeff and Terry already have really good groundwork, really good.
Oh, yes,
where
definitely.
we need to go.
Yeah.
So, I don't know how much involvement you guys have had.
Pardon?
I said, I don't know how much involvement you guys have had, how many people. But I think my proposal would be chairing the committee. Adding more people if you need, to get a good aggregate of different people. I know you both have experience in the fire department and experience in land ownership and paying taxes. So I guess that would be my proposal, is let's get some more people to piggyback with you guys on what you're doing, and that be the committee.
Could that committee meet here and have the YouTube also? So you guys could have the floor here and put it on YouTube as well.
Yeah, we would also add, or Twitter to add to the community feature of our website, the community group, whatever you wanna call this, could be in the website. And you can post updates, and then folks can go to just find out the updates of what you're batting around and those ideas that you might have, or if you need some assistance in some certain areas, you'd like some more information on, but you don't have an expert on one of the committees. So we can post that question up on there, and then hopefully maybe somebody knows somebody that we can get in here to help answer that question, and then that would help you, point you to another step down the road. So those kinds of things.
Now, on that note, I think I would like to get involved with somebody from the trustees side now. I don't, if there's anybody that's willing to.
We gotta have somebody from the trustee, because.
And you do, right, just so you know.
I would like to just get on the website part of it, and, cause I know right now we don't even have a website or anything, but we can get that through the state to where we can have the trustees' website through there, and we can also post our meetings on that website too. So I don't want anybody to think that it's from the community at all, trustee side, township side, or Clayton itself, town side, that we're trying to one-way it. Cause that's not, I don't think anybody wants that.
We're gonna have to have someone from the trustee side. because
Yeah.
Right.
I don't
Just so
see
you know,
any
James
resolution.
McDermott, he won in the primary for being on the township board.
Right.
And he wants to be part of this group to help with his input. He's a full-time firefighter at Plainfield. He's been on the board of FDLT for
Right.
who knows how many years, so he would be
And
helpful.
that would be a great person to reach out to where we can get this started.
Right, so,
Also.
you know, and I talked with Kristen French, the treasurer of the board of FDLT, 2 days ago. She said anybody from the board is willing to come and answer questions. So if you had something specific that you wanted to ask them, the board of the current FDLT, we just have to reach out to them and say, here's our questions, okay? So we have, again, CPAs, I mean, Greg lives here in the township, so, but, I mean, we have experts available to help you answer questions about that and to be part of the discussion along the way.
I think that's a good point. I mean, at this point, I think we should start getting a group of people together and actually start planning out a meeting to where we can sit down and start throwing ideas out there and getting balls rolling.
Right, and if the group wants to meet here without, you know, one of the, you know, town council members involved and you want to use this equipment, it's the town's equipment, so I can teach the committee chair how to run this. And you'll just set it up and it'll be on the YouTube. That way, people who can't attend that day can watch it on the YouTube channel.
One of the things that resonated in the last meeting, or in the meetings over there, was that a lot of people didn't know that there was even a thing. And they're not on Facebook and they're not on the computer. So one of the things that I would try to be more cognizant about is how do you reach those people to know that there's even a committee, you know, to do it. I mean, I can't imagine not having, you know, that stuff to look at and get my information, but it's obvious there's a lot of people out there that are, so I just wanted to throw that out there and, you know, hopefully come up with a way that we can, you know, we can put it on the board out here, put it on the website, you know.
You had something to say, sir?
It's going real well, I hate to.
Oh.
I recognize a lot
Here
of
comes the
folks.
wrench.
But, no, not at all. And I recognized Greg when I walked in the door. We worked on a project 30 years ago or so.
Liberty Water.
Yeah, which Ray's Trash Service doesn't own that anymore.
Yeah.
So, I worked at Ray's Trash Service for 30 years. Raised my family on the east side of the township for the last 20 years, so I'm also a resident. So, don't take it lightly, it's a big deal, but I haven't been able to be at the other meetings. Will happily, gladly participate. But it sounds like you got a lot of good volunteers in the room. Can't always make all the meetings. I've got another meeting I'm supposed to be at in 7, so I'll say just that I'm here and willing. Unfortunately, we're a too often user of the fire services. Sorry to say that. Well, that was one of the reasons we were glad to see some of the big boxes built, because now they get more runs than Ray's Trash Service does.
Yeah.
So, yeah, take some of that attention away. But we recognize the importance and the need, and so we just want to be at the table, I guess, to participate, part of the discussion. Appreciate all you guys, your time, what you do for the town and locally in the community. So if you see me at the grocery store or something, I'm also a neighbor.
Okay.
Friendly face, so thank you all. Count me in. I'll try to be at more meetings. I just haven't been at these so far. Is there also a township committee? Or is that just casual, like what you guys are doing, or what they're asking
We
for?
were just a group that, basically wanted to stop what was happening, just so that we could look at other avenues, see what else was available. And so our goal was to stop the progression of the proposal, which we got accomplished, but we felt at that point we weren't done, and it was unfair for us to sit back and say, okay, we gotta stop, we're done. So we chose to continue to meet and look at speak to people, go to the county, talk to other people, see what is available out there, what other options do we have.
Seems reasonable, seems like fair process.
Yeah.
I think what you guys are doing is admirable, because you're basically asking for, okay, we heard from you, now what will you support? Tell us what you'll support, community, and we can try again, so in some respect. That's the only way you get any progress out of it, so I think that's a good path.
Right. So going forward, the next steps is that, as I'm understanding it, the audience that's out there right now, you folks are going to work on being the committee, and you're going to come up with ideas and bring them back to us. And we'll work through each one of them. Basically, when you come up with ideas, you boil it down to, is this gonna be the biggest bang for a buck? Is it gonna work? Is it gonna be sustainable? That kind of stuff. But anything else?
I think we should probably put a paper out for, people that are going to want to, do this, every other week, once a month, whatever. And looks like you guys back there in the corner are probably gonna spearhead this, so. You'll
We just
I know.
loaned our barn.
Thank you for coming, Jeff.
We just loaned our barn.
You're not alone.
I'll second the motion.
So you will take possession of this list and
What kind of contact information you want? Email, phone number?
Email,
Give it
phone
all.
number, yeah,
Let's
that's-
have it all, social,
Yeah.
everything.
Credit card numbers,
card.
zip codes, all that would
How
be
many
great.
children you own, that kind of.
Thank you, guys.
Anyway,
I can relate to that. Sorry. I used to think old guys were sizing me up, but just because they can't see you.
If you wanna email me what your plans are, then I can post it on the town site, and then we can also get,
We'll have to get with
Yeah.
the chatter seems to get the
I hate
local
social
folks,
media.
so we'll get it on there and.
even if it's.
You hate it?
I hate it, I despise it.
How,
I don't
how,
have it either.
how would you get a hold of the people? That's interesting to me.
Well, you know, when after the first meeting, the second one, the third one, there was an awful lot of people showing up. Everybody got a hold of everybody, so they were.
When they kept saying we
They
didn't know
can
anything about the
get
meeting, well, how come there was 150 people here?
Yeah, I know, that was.
Sign up anytime there's an update, or
Yeah.
just email them the update.
I would head up that electronic part of this, but
I
I'm
know,
getting older.
you'd be
I
very
don't
good
wanna-
at it too, John. Yeah, exactly.
Hey, I do have a question real quick. One thing that I wish that the town council said would be Liberty Township Council on all your nameplates. Cause I kinda do feel like there's a division between the Liberty Township and Clayton Town.
Yeah.
That kinda has been unsettling for me for a while. But my question is, if we want to send out mailers, are you able to help that process with us? I mean, financially, I mean, if we wanted to go to the Clayton post office and send mail, I mean,
Send a postcard.
if we had to send
Yeah.
something to the community, are you willing to do that or not?
I mean, we could explore that option. I know, back in March, when a lot of people were, making a mention at the territory meetings about doing mail outs, I went over and talked to Mary Jane at the post office on how would I go about doing this? And she said, that she can't give, or the post office can't give us a mailing list, unfortunately. So,
It has to be by zip code.
she said there's a postal customer kind of a mailing list you can buy, but it would be addressed to postal customer. So what do most people do with that type of mail when it says postal customer? They put it in that recycle or toss it, so.
You can get a registered voters list though.
Yeah.
They can
just-
send you that electronically. You can
So-
merge it.
There are some, ways you can get those things. It's challenging than just saying, oh, I want a mailing list, but
Doesn't that fall back to the township trustee?
Yeah.
Since he's in charge of
the,
the township?
there's,
So,
our population in Liberty Township is about 6,100. I don't know what that would equal to a mailing list. I don't know if that means,
Divided by 4 average.
yeah, so
Four per household, so about 1,700.
1,800, somewhere in there. So that would be, yeah, we'd have to look and see what,
I'm just
What
asking
we would
because
have
we need
available.
some other way. I don't really care for the Republic. I don't think that's a great way to advertise because there's not a lot of people that take that. If we had the flyers still, I mean, like the way it used to be delivered to everyone's home, that's different. We don't have that anymore. So we'll figure it out. I'm just trying to figure out if you would back us on something like that if we needed to.
I would hope
Yes,
we could find
that would
some
be
a good budget or a little bit from
The trustees office should be able to help us do.
We've
some
got
of
over
that.
$1 million in it.
Right.
I need to tap into that for a contract and play for the that services my time, but that's just my thought.
Put by the liquor packs and get it.
anything else? Yes, Steve?
No. Thanks for everybody
Yeah.
for
See
coming.
everyone.
Now, how much involvement do you guys all want to, I mean, like if we decide to put a letter together and we wanna send out flyers to people, do you guys want to see what we're sending out? Are you guys wanting to be overseeing all of that?
I wouldn't necessarily call it overseeing, but yeah, we wanna be involved
Okay.
with the process. We'd like to know where everything's, I mean,
Sure.
and again, if something is being sent out that, the DLGF says you can't do that, or the State Board of Accounts says you can't do that, we could look at that and go.
Well, I think the only thing we would be sending out is just information.
Oh,
like
sure.
We're gonna have a
Like a
meeting or.
meeting notice
Right.
or whatever.
Yeah, and like I said, if there's not already a meeting scheduled here, this building is it's a town building, so it's part of what your taxes go to pay for, so.
I think the most bang for your buck would be to set up when your meetings are gonna be and put that in one mailing. I'm assuming that's what you would do, but.
Thank you guys for listening to what the community said to begin with. And that tells us a lot about how you guys are and where you guys stand with the community itself. So again, thank you and we appreciate that.
Well, thanks for coming and saying that.
John didn't have.
Okay, I will,